All into game, Frodan, Bryce, take it away.
Thank you very much, Casanova. Welcome everybody to game number 4 of the grand finals here of the Dragonlance Mid Set Finale. Hopping on board with Amde, a player who is just kind of putting it all together. Amde flew under the radar prior to going to the event. It was highlighted that in a lot of our fantasy drafts, that's plural, he's been left off of multiple of teams. And people are saying that he is the best player that just gone undrafted across all of these formats. So I feel like that's starting to come to fruition, Bryce. We're really starting to see Amde come to his own. Yeah, he's been getting getting very lucky in a lot of situations compared to some other players. But I also feel like he's navigating some of those very fortunate spots to easy first places whenever they are delivered to his doorstep.
Yeah, he's constantly, when he's winning lobbies, he's oftentimes winning them by a couple of touchdowns, right? He's just smashing the lobby like we saw where he's, on a 10-plus win streak, 50-plus health, not even close to capping out his board. So he's been really good when playing from ahead. I, in particular, have really enjoyed his play when he's played around the trainer opening. It feels like he has a really good understanding of which combination of units to play around, which items to slam, and how to ultimately snowball that early trainer high roll into success. He doesn't have any of those units right now, though. It's definitely not a comfort zone opening, at least as I perceive it, but he has shown quite a bit of flexibility to his play as well. He's been one of the wider players in terms of the different types of compositions he's willing to play. So I've really enjoyed watching him a lot this weekend, and I'm looking forward to studying the VOD when we're done.
Yeah, it's accentuated by the fact that yesterday he had a very unconventional Dragon Alliance, multiple dragons holding an assassin emblem. It was Assassin Shyvana, Assassin Siphon. It was pretty whack. Maybe run it back. I mean, we'll see. He has some transformative emblems available to him in terms of Warrior Crest and Earth's Grab Bag. Mirage is Pirate's Greed, so Hallucinate is a lot less appealing, but you could theoretically lean into it. Pirate's Greed is such an interesting Mirage to see how far you want to push the envelope, because you can use it to lose streak and get a bunch of gold. You can also utilize it to capitalize on the fact that a lot of people don't play Deja. Therefore, you might get a really easy uncontested Deja 2 and play for a nice top 4 instead of try to crush through the normal Mirage variations. I think a lot of people forget that Deja is just a good unit, even regardless of the Mirage bonus.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. If we talked in the lead up to this about how Deja is really strong and hasn't been seen much of today. There are a lot of players who are still willing to play Deja on Pirate, particularly from a tempo situation. I don't think that this lobby is one of them. I don't know if there's anybody in this lobby who is kind of brave enough to go down that path. Amde choosing to go in a different direction here, taking the Earth's Grab Bag, slamming out on Spark, and I really like this because he's got a strong enough board here to deal some damage to clear and potentially to win some fights in Stage 2, but he doesn't have to be overly focused on whether or not he goes full win streak, which this board is unlikely to do, but that's okay because he should be killing units and he's going to be farming some Pirate Gold while he's at it.
Yep, Spione pair, and he could end up either using that Earth's Grab Bag to, say, make a Tactician's Crown, or go into Assassins, which we have seen Amde do in the past. We'll check back in with him later. As another player who has taken an Earth's Grab Bag is Bertasaurus, the player that was power ranked number 1 going into this tournament. One of the few players to ever go back-to-back power rankings at number 1. So much hype going into it, and I feel like he has largely lived up to it. I feel like even if Bert doesn't win this tournament, he has definitely proven why he has gotten the respect of his peers. Off to kind of an awkward start, though. Titan's Resolve is not the best item on Senna. You can see why that is. It's almost the end of the fight. And we just finally ascended to Titan status just in time to get overrun by the rest of the Cavalier board. So you can see why Bert's going to be on kind of an awkward win-loss. I don't think his board is bad by any means, especially after that upgrade. He's just trying to stall out for as long as he can while stacking these trainers for as much mileage as he can get.
Yeah, and he's investing in his future, right? He's already got 4 Nomsy stacks, which means he's had these 2 trainer units in since 2-1. So we've certainly seen the power of the trainer when it gets ramping. 4-star Nomsy is an absolute menace in the late game. It's essentially like having a second dragon on your boards from the raw stats. It's so powerful. So Bert's in an okay spot, even though he took a pretty bad loss there. Wow, he's going to play back-to-back level 5s. That feels so bad. Mortdog does not have him. He goes up against Pocky Gom, who went to level 5, 1, 2, 2, and then now Amde worried about playing Pocky Gom and wanted him to preserve his streak. is going up against Bird, and Bird is going to take big damage here. Can he
Wow.
kill anything? Everything is taking some damage, but
Nice.
okay, we
got
killed
one. We got
one unit. Not bad, but Burt with an okay board state down at 84 HP just because of the matchmaking RNG. We also have an interesting battle brewing between Amde and Pocky, as well as Darth Nub, actually, all at 100 HP, potentially fighting for that win streak in Stage 2.
No spatula for Bertasaurus off the carousel. I think that's something that he was also okay with losing. I know it stinks to get hit by the level 5 player super early, but the caveat to that is he had a chance to potentially get big with the Tactician's Crown. 2 tomes being picked up, Clear and Kurumx. So a lot of the emblems are going to be coming into play. We'll see if they can get things like Whispers or Revel or anything else that's transformative. DK with an Ascension. Robin with, I believe, is Hot Shot. And Pocky Gom with that Cavalier emblem, who does have 4. Clear has a Whispers emblem from Tome on 2-3. We talked about that possibility. The fact that he has it means that there's going to be a lot of Deja that's on the table here. And Pocky Gom, by the way, just because he has Cavalier emblem does not mean that he's going to be leaning towards the Mirage line. There's a widespread belief that Cavalier emblem is actually one of the best, if not the best emblem that you can put on Olaf. So if anything, Pocky Gom might go back to Scale Scorn.
Yeah, I think that's where we're probably heading with these item slams, right? The Cavalier emblem is really good on either Olaf or on Diana. The Sunfire is really good to be held on any of these tanks or Diana as well. He's got the early Olaf. He actually has all 4 Scale Scorn units on 2-5. Definitely comfort zone for Pocky. His Olaf just dies there. Not a bad situation for him. And this is the big fight. His set 2 with that Cavalier emblem and that Sunfire is just doing so much work. The assassin version of Yone is fun to look at, but definitely not going to take care of business here. Pocky maintaining a streak. Darth actually lost his fight as well, so our lone win streaker right now in the lobby is Pocky Gom.
I mean, set with a bunch of health and he gets his knuckle down is so hard to deal with in the early stages of the game. It's just, he gets essentially a full stack Titans like when he uses his ability. So add to the Cavalier tankiness, it's just lights out. So it's not too much of a surprise to show that one of the most dominant stage 2 units with Cavalier is that much more effective. Amde did end up committing to that assassin emblem like we talked about. Seems like something that he was open to. We'll see. Going up against Darth Nub, who does have that Three's Company, but looks like he sold everything for gold, by the way, while opening with pretty generic items of Hand of Justice, the Edge of Night. So not exactly sure where Darth Nub's going to go. Has several directions. Could end up angling for Jade based off of the Karma and the Tarek that's currently on his bench, and these are fantastic items to play on Shi OU. We'll have to see as Pocky Gom cruises to a relatively uncontested win streak at the end of the stage. On the other side of things, Burt did beat Clear in what looked like to be a situation where Burt wanted to 4 loss streak, ends up going for the dreaded bookend. He won his first and his last stage 2 fights. That's not good.
Yeah, really not good. Burt, I believe, our only player that's been in the top 4 all 3 games so far, so it's definitely a rough opening from him, but more than capable of bouncing back. Joining Kurumx, who went win-loss and then a couple of wins to end the stage. He's okay economically, a little bit broke, and his board is okay as well. He's got some upgraded backliners, upgraded frontliners to accompany these 2 frontline tempo-oriented slams in the Sunfire Cape and the Spark. He also ripped his tome and got a Mystic Emblem, which is generically pretty powerful right now in the meta because there's so much magic damage.
Yeah, especially if you know that people are going to be playing things like Whisper Emblems. I know that it might feel like it's moot, like, oh, well, if they're going to shred everything, why even build resistances? It's even more important sometimes to have resistances, so that way you can make sure you're at least tanky and not basically taking pure true damage at that point. So we'll see how effective that Mystic Emblem could be, but if you're Kurumx, you can't help but feel disappointed. That's probably not the emblem that you wanted.
Yeah, not ideal, but it is okay, and Kurumx is a very flexible player in the mid-game, so he's going to have a potential way of teching in the Mystic. He actually decides to level there to put in that Lulu to activate the Mystic trait, going up against Robin, who also leveled to 6. This is kind of unusual. Normally, you think of leveling to 6 on 3-1 as players who are either like crazy ahead economically or trying to protect streaks. Neither of these players have particularly large streaks to protect, but one of them is going to be very disappointed here leveling to 6 and losing on 3-1.
Looks like it's going to be Robin because he did level to play mages, it seems like, or second cannoneer, and both of them are okay, but they're not particularly too strong. I do know that Robin has the cannoneer. augment based, so he probably made a decision off of that. However, that being said, Robin's still ramping, so the more he can protect that Namzi, the better. Let's take a look at the 3-2 augment.
Gadget Expert's the one that immediately jumps out to me. It does kind of overlap with the magic shred that you get from the Ionic Spark that Kurumx already has slammed. We talked a little bit about Ascension yesterday. It's been performing horribly in the data. Blue Battery does have some niche use cases. I'm just not sure that this is the board. You could also tuck me into a reroll here if you wanted to go that path.
Yeah, considering that he already has Ionic Spark, that makes me like Static Shiv much more since it'll deal more damage. Ionic Spark, Bramble Vest, Ruinous Hurricane, Static Shiv. Those are the direct damage items that you can leverage. The only thing about it is that I wish you would consider just a tiny bit of rolling to maybe get 2 stars. I guess that Nar 2 is good, but it just feels like his board is built on a house of sand. Oh, okay. Subbing out the Tarek. If you put all these items on Nara, I like that way better. Let's put on the Dragon Mancer unit instead, though.
Yeah, I get that. The Dragon Mancer, the use of the Dragon Mancer means that it's going to get a nice boost in HP, so it might wind up being his tankiest unit. This Volibear has lived considerably longer than the Gnar in the fight, it looks like. Gnar's going to drop now. The Dragon Mancer, buff onto this Volibear is actually keeping it alive and winning this fight. It's nice job. And this is exactly what I was talking about when I was talking about Kurumx's strength. He's very good at kind of seeing the different options for best board. He moves off of the board that he'd been playing around because he didn't have those upgrades yet. Oh my god. Are you kidding me, Clear? This man is built differently. He rips the tome early. He gets Whisper Emblem, which is the generically best emblem in the game by a fairly wide margin, actually, and then he gets the best holder of it in Deja.
Yeah, this is gross. And he's farming gold in order to do this, so Clear's in a really good spot. He's also not unhealthy. Clear, I think, for all the reputation he's developed with what some of his opinions on the state of the game, and a lot of people consider it to be hot takes, I do think that he has strong tournament understanding of what he should be trying to do in a lot of different spots. I think his macro read on a lot of specific spots in TFT is very interesting and a little bit different than what you might normally expect. Now, that being said, most people understand Whisper Deja is very strong. And the fact that he's able to kind of play it with the Pirate actually might suit his benefit, because that just means less people are going to be trying to take these Dejas. Because I have seen Whisper Deja lose a lot. I have seen Whisper Deja bot 4. We saw that with Soju yesterday, who had Whisper Deja and Rageblade and everything set up and still end up bot 4ing. Wow, ends up losing to Kurumx, and Kurumx preserves his streak. A huge moment for Kurumx, as he didn't roll at 3-2, as I said, to try to make his board stronger, and he's just narrowly, by the skin of his teeth, keeping that win streak. And that is the mark of an elite player, to be able to tread that line carefully and get away with it. Excellent job in Stage 3 so far by Kurumx.
Yeah, really nice Stage 3 from him. Bertasaurus, our other win streaker. Taking a look at the augments, we see Amde wind up grabbing Phony Frontline to play around his assassin-based composition. Better Together from Bertasaurus. Is that Penitence from Darth Nub?
Either Penitence or Eternal Protection. I think it is Penitence, just because I think Eternal Protection has like a little heart icon on it. We'll have to actually take a look once we get a chance a little bit more in depth. Meanwhile, from Clear's perspective, he's going to roll here at 3-5, or is he just going to park it? It seems like he's committing to rolling at least a little bit here. See what else he can pick up.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see if he chooses to slam a QSS just to guarantee the ramping onto this Deja, or if he wants this glove to be, okay, there you go. That answers that question for myself. Thank you, Clear. So he's just going to really focus on guaranteeing that there's no CC that will be getting onto this Deja in the first parts of the fight, guaranteeing the ramp, which is important to the stacking of the ability power that will come from Deja being a Whisper unit, going up against Amde, who has that Assassin 2-star Yone in the backline, but walking away from the Deja for now. The nice thing from Clear here is he's favoring the right side. You see him staying there consistently. The reason why he's doing that, you're seeing in this fight, we see multiple units, only 2 units can actually step up and stand to the challenge here, and so Clear is able to actually get basically a 1v6, it looks like, with his final cast against the Olaf, because he's on the right side. If he was on the left side, there's 3 units that can surround that Deja, then it's just too much probably onto the Deja, and it winds up losing. Very, very thoughtfully done there from Clear.
Yeah, and the reason why QSS can be very strong as well on that Whispers, because he already has Celestial Blessing. I think a lot of people forget that Whispers is pretty strong, but you want a healing source, because Deja oftentimes has to be winning fights. That's going to be the first of many rounds. We're going to see Deja have to fight and clean up everything herself. Everybody else is just a paid actor. Speaking of hyper carries, when you hit Shyvana at 7 and you triple item stack her like this, you might watch some pretty powerful things happen. Pocky Gom with the Cavalier Diana, as you were saying, could end up being able to play the spoiler of it because Darth Nub is trying to turn around his loss streak. Dragon Descent does clean up some, but not everything. This Diana is zipping around, seeing if she can go toe-to-toe with the Rage Wing Queen herself. The Edge of Night does end up proccing the third cast of Dragon Descent. Not really getting it done. There is a lack of damage onto Shyvana. Oh no! The second Cascade from the Diana is able to get it done. Big loss here for Darth Nub because with that loss streak being snapped, he was hoping to carry his momentum going to stage 4, and now he's going to have that much less gold.
Yeah, meanwhile, Pocky showing why he is the master of the scale scoring line. That Cavalier emblem, a lot of people would just immediately put onto the Olaf, but he doesn't have Olaf 2, and he doesn't have Olaf items yet. And so instead, he's playing around this very utility-oriented Ionic Spark, Sunfire Cape, Cavalier Diana. It's so tanky. It's applying anti-heal. It's shredding magic resistance. You also get extra damage from the Ionic Spark because of the scale scoring trait interaction. So very thoughtful board once again from Pocky Gom. Darth is able to get a couple of big upgrades here. Do you think that's enough for him to be able to skip level 7 and try to get to level 8?
I mean, he has a couple more pairs, so he could roll to see if he can get 2-star Nard, 2-star Ashe. And it is kind of relevant because, you know, upgrading those units just makes your Dragonmancers and your Jades a little bit stronger and gives you a little bit more support for the Shyvana. That being said, I think another wise thing to do is wait for the augment. If it's prismatic augment, let's get level up. Utilizing your gold before then would be ill-advised. So I'd at least like the wait here. It goes up against Amde. Perhaps another reason why Pocky Gom has to change his game plan is because he's contested. We're actually seeing contested scale score, and Olaf eats the breath from behind, and Darth Nub's gamble ends up paying off. Even if he ends up losing here, would not be a bad loss whatsoever. Wins convincingly, puts Amde under significant pressure. DQA also under the gun at 35 HP. As we take a look at the 4-2 augment, it's a triple gold.
Yeah, it's a triple gold emblem. He does have penitence already, so he can go Jade Heart and just use this Shyvana as a cosplaying Xiaoyu for the time being. I don't think we've seen anyone else on the Jade line, so Darth feels relatively comfortable with the notion that he's going to be able to get to level 8, have enough HP and gold to work with to get the board the way he needs it to be, right? We have no copies of Nico, no copies of Xiaoyu, and feels like he doesn't want to spend a bunch of gold at this time. Oh, we start to see him rolling there, so maybe he's changing his mind. Meanwhile, Clear actually gets a dragon-based augment at the end. I believe that is Dragon Alliance. So he's got, well, a bunch of 1-star dragons.
Yeah, his board is interesting. It's actually quite fragile, but at the same time, it's surprisingly tanky because you do have the Guardian and the Bruisers in. It's just one of those things you just have to see case by case. This is a player that's playing Xayah 2, so kind of disregard everything else about being weak. We found a weaker board. It is a Xayah 2 from DQA. DQA is going 8th. There's just no way that you're playing Xayah in the grand finals of the Mid Set Finale, DQA. Please.
Listen, he's been playing Valorant. Maybe he doesn't know. Maybe the last time that he was playing
knows.
TFT.
He knows. No one is more aware of how 8th that board is than DQ 8th.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he had no other option. Super hard to say, but we can say definitively that DQA is in a rough spot. Meanwhile, Clear, I really, really like this board composition. It makes a ton of sense. And he hits the Deja upgrade, which is such a big deal. He's got a great frontline, dragon to play around in Itis. He gets to go vertical whispers because of that dragon, plus the whisper emblem. So we get 6 whisper Deja, something you don't get to see very often because you don't get to play the Siphon along with Deja. There's a lot of potential power here. I'm not sure that I would make this Elise. I actually kind of like his board construction. Maybe he's thinking about an 8 whisper Deja, but he does not have Pike currently.
Well, I mean, I guess he just has to settle with a really strong board here at 4-3. Well, against Bert, who has Mage Emblem on the Ornn. It's going to be the calling of the cattle. Double Stampede. He does have another Siphon. Oh, Ornn didn't even finish 1 cast, let alone 2. And this kind of board is exactly what Clear wants to go up against. One of those stall inevitability boards, and also a 1-star dragon versus his 2-star. Bert taking some pretty significant damage, now going down to 20 HP. DQA does get a win. So Bert actually might be raising DQA for 8th place because I think his board looking quite weak.
Yeah, I'm really, really worried about Bert's board. He's top 3 all 3 games so far, but he's in a much, much rougher position than we've seen him in. There is a spat on the carousel. We've seen a number of people that have had spatulas at one point or another. I believe Amde has an open spat right now and could take this for a Tactician's Crown. He's beeline for it, so is Pocky Gom. Pocky's actually passing on it. Wow, Pocky is giving Amde the Tactician's Crown in order to get this tier. Maybe he wants the Bard. It's a little hard to say right now. We haven't gotten to check back in on Pocky Gom's board in a little bit, but Amde, our current points leader and favorite to qualify for the World Championships of Set 7, just got a big boon to his board.
Oh my god, Pocky's going for Asia, and he has the Cavalier emblem. He found Yasuo. He's going to pivot out of the Scale Scorn and just build a dragon board himself to try to go toe-to-toe with Clear. That's a Deja 2. And we talked about how because Deja is uncontested in Pirate lobbies, it's much easier to hit, which incidentally gives Pocky Gom exactly the unit he's playing for. And he also has 6 Mirage, by the way, which gives him, I believe, the Admiral's chest, which allows him to potentially farm items moving forward. He's going to get a lot of gold injection to hit the dragons and maybe able to farm the best in slot items for every unit that he wants.
Yeah, this is classic Pocky Gom situation. He's thinking about playing around Scale Scorn, but he just winds up using it as a placeholder. He's actually such bad fight RNG here on these Wind Blasts are missing DQA. DQA gets back-to-back fight wins. He heard us talking some trash about that Xayah.
Yeah, Bird is not looking strong on the other side of things. He's gotten the raw and the deal of the 3 trainer. The 3 trainer boards, they need to decisively be ahead of the curve with Namzi, but you need to upgrade the rest of the board. I think a lot of people, unfortunately, get caught in that Vortex Burtson where you can't stabilize, your Nami's not tanky enough, and the rest of your board can't support. Just kind of leads to loss after loss. Bird does hit Siphon too. Maybe we'll see that end up being the case here to swing things as Pocky Gom has the very top and the very bottom available in this pool. Looks like he's going up against Bertasaurus. Bert needs this win. He cannot fight the rest of the game on single digit. He has to stop the buck right here, and hopefully that Siphon 2 can get it done. He also does get Polymorph for a brief second. The double stun from the Crescendo with the Mage Sona on top right, trying to buy some time. And time is what he will get. And this Rampage is going to clean a lot of things up. Looks like Bert has turned a corner, and it's not going to be enough here for Pocky Gom to get the win. A huge dub for Bertasaurus.
Especially since DQA lost now. Bird is just trying to eke out as many points from this game as he can. DQA going down to 11 HP. He's hoping he'll go 8th. Amde takes another loss. Darth takes a loss as well. So Bird is feeling like maybe, just maybe, he got stable enough to get into a top 6, top 5 situation. Only time is going to tell. Rejoining Kurumx for the first time in a while. Kurumx doing what Kurumx does. This is a mishmash board of Jades. He's got an Ionic Spark on his Shio Yu, and he is win streaking alongside Clear and Robin, actually 3 full win streakers. So all the people on the lower end had some bad matchmaking RNG throughout Stage 4.
Yeah, that's such a good point. You don't really see 3 people streaking at the end of Stage 4 in this regard. It just means that they all took turns beating up on all the players who are very weak. Nico 2, huge hit. Could think about if he wants to play Sona 2, but I think with Lulu already set, less likely.
He could actually drop a Nivea here if he wanted to drop a Nivea, because he's got the 6 Jade even without, so Nivea is not really adding anything.
Well, I mean, Nivea is adding a lot of magic damage, so but he also doesn't have another unit to play at 8, so I guess Sona goes in 3 Evoker. I mean, any mana is good. I think it is also worth talking about the items that he chose off Treasure Dragon. He thought for a very long time about this possibility of going double Zeeks. And that's just a build that I guess is near and dear to Kurum's heart. He's kind of a double Zeeks man. This is multiple times today we've been seeing him try to itemize his Shio Yu with support and leaving items open. Because Nivea's also going to get hooked here.
Yeah, Kerm is also apparently allergic to getting max value out of double Zeeks. That we were off broadcast for the other lobby where he did this. It was a Jade board just like this. It was double Zeeks just like this. And for whatever reason, Kerm really does not like giving double Zeeks value. He only really focuses on giving it to the Shio Yu and does not really give it to the other units. I would love to see him get optimal value there because there's basically no unit on his board that would not benefit from having double Zeeks value. It's much earlier pass in the fight.
Yeah, I can understand that, right? He's even playing Static Shiv and Gadget Expert, so getting that extra damage would, even on Ashe, would be not irrelevant. But it's working out for Kurumx so far, and I think the counterpoint to what you're saying, Bryce, I think sometimes people tunnel way too hard on max Zeke's value, max Locket value, max Banshee's value, and they sometimes sabotage themselves in terms of fights. It's easy for us to say it in a vacuum. Kurum's the one under the pressure that has to make those hard decisions. And so far, it's working out, so I'm going to reserve my judgment for then. But the judgment that I can pass onto the Xayah board, well, it does have Shyvana, so that does change the equation a lot. Can Xayah turn back the clock? Shyvana didn't even cast! There's no Dragon's Descent! Kurum is going to farm this Rage Wing and send DQA into DQ 8th. That's not going to be good for DQA's chances here to even go top 4 in this tournament. Starting off so hot with that first place and having 2 8ths in the next 2-3 games.
Oh, and Bertasaurus takes exact lethal damage against Amde. Bertasaurus, we talked about fighting on this lower end, trying to find his way into as many placements as he can. Amde getting a huge fight win for him, because that is not just implications for this lobby, it's implications for the tournament. We only have 2 games left after this one. Amde came with a 2-point lead over Bertasaurus. He is going to expand this lead. The question is, how far? Is there any world in which Amde can eke out another top 4 placement, widen that gap, and really cement his likelihood of going to Worlds through this tournament?
It kind of depends. There's a lot of strong boards here, and still, Clear and Kurumx apparently do not play each other for the rest of this game. That is 2 Cav Emblems, by the way, for Pocky Gom, with a Siphon charged to the back line and trying to muck things up so to buy time for this Deja's Wind Blast, which is money. It shoots across the entire back left side. Can the unit stay alive? Diamond Hands has cashed. Robin does not have anything left, trying to use Diamond Hands on Tristana, but cannot withstand the pressure. We do not have any more eliminations here. Darth Nub ended up taking a loss. Amde does get the win. Look at stage 5 carousel to see if anybody can grab things that can swing things dramatically here.
Yeah, there's a Guardian emblem here, which might be interesting to Pocky. I can't remember if he still has Itis on his board. There's a Yasuo, not a great item on Yasuo, but at least the stats are pretty good for anyone who's looking for that unit. Wow, looks like we're going to see a stage 5 carousel Yasuo actually go unpicked. This might be a first for me. That unit is so strong. It works on so many different boards, but everyone had other things that they needed. We're rejoining Robin. He does have the Corki too, thank God. He's finally got his board online. It feels like Robin, you know, he's had some struggles today, but he's also, it has to be said, low rolling a little bit. He has been rolling tons of gold, and it feels like sometimes he's just playing a different game than everybody else. Everybody's getting their dragons, getting their dragon upgrades, whereas it feels like time and time again, Robin is just not able to hit the core units that he needs, but he is online now. He has 30 HPs in a solid position to top 4 this game, though he does need as many points as he can if he's going to be competitive, because he is way down at the bottom in last place.
Diamond Hands Itis is very good in this matchup in particular, not to mention that Corki just has a very strong matchup 1v1 versus Shio Yu, because Shio Yu has to go front through back unless you're able to navigate around it. So in terms of the matchup, this is really good, and Robin could end up being a huge beneficiary just based on what the final 3 players will be. The exception being Clear. Clear, ever since hitting that Deja 2 with Whisper, has just been relaxing and kicking back his feet. Pocky Gom out in 6th place. Amde looking likely to go bot 4 as well, pending on his matchups. I just don't think this Assassin scale scoring board can get that much more mileage. You can see the result of 2 players who wanted to play the scale scoring line. Both players might be holding hands, but at least it's not a 7th or 8th. It's probably going to be a 5th or a 6th, as right now both Clear and Robin are both in their pool. I'm not entirely sure if this board can cut it in both those matchups.
Yeah, it feels like this has gone as far as it can, but that's actually totally fine. Not every game of Teamfight Tactics is meant to be a first or even a top 4, and for Amde, the really important thing is that the players who are most competitive with him, scoreline-wise overall, have struggled even more in this lobby, so it's not bad, you know, if you wind up in a kind of low-roll situation to pilot your way into a 5th place. He is going up against the Ghost board, so he's able to get some work done, but ultimately, this Whisper Deja in that corner is just sitting back there and free-farming Amde's board. Amde is going to be exiting in a solid 5th place performance, scoring 4 more points for his World's contention run.
Yeah, Amde's getting very close within striking distance. Oh my goodness, hold phone. Rift Herald providing 3 items, and so for Darth Nub, that Shojin, very solid onto the Anivia, one of her best items. Unfortunately, the other 2 are so good for Nico, but she already has 3 items spoken. So it does feel like it's going to be a little bit awkward here for Darth Nub.
Yeah, definitely not the ideal items that he was looking for. It's not bad sometimes when you're one of the weaker boards. You would like to see a 3-item neutral camp here because sometimes you can high roll, others can low roll, and it can really spike you. But this does not appear to be the combination of items that is going to lead to a significant spike for him. They're not terrible items. He can make use of all of them, but they're not outstanding either. And Darth's board is solid. He's got a nice iteration of the Jade composition. It does feel like he's been outscaled a little bit. No one seems to be contesting clear. I do think Darth Nub is capable of beating Kurumx's board. Robin's board, though, is much tougher. You were talking about that Corki into Shio-Yu matchup. Shio-Yu does not do very well into this true front-to-back Corki board, but last second repositioning is there a world in which this Shio-Yu can get access to the Corki and circumvent this Itis?
I mean, that's what the Namzi and the Thresh are for. The items for Robin were okay. He got Redemption, Deathblade, and Edge of Night. 2 of those went on Tristana to add for some secondary damage. But the Diamond Hands and the Namzi 4 is just so tanky, making it really difficult. Another round of cast gives additional attack speed and shield. Can Corki get it done? Itis has lasted just long enough, and it looks like Darth Nub is dead here in 4th place. Kurumx ends up taking a pretty severe loss to Clear. It looks like Clear's lobby to lose. Clear rolling it down. Looks like he's still trying to actually find just 2-star versions of his current units, while also secretly playing for Deja 3. Finally hits Itis 2. And that's the kind of scary thing about this composition. It's been doing this well with these few 2-stars.
Yeah, he also has Diamond Hands that he hasn't gotten online yet, so he's just been stomping people so hard that his board is just, it feels like running away with his lobby. It's hard for me to envision anyone beating his current board, let alone where his board is going. We do see this decisive fight of Kurumx against Robin. I feel like Robin is heavily favored in this matchup. Kurum feels like he has the weaker version of Darth's board, but you never know. The Mystic Emblem plus the double Zeeks could pay dividends. Kurum has actually been able to hold up decently. The Itis is already down, but the Namzi 4 in the middle of this fight is just so tanky. There's not enough damage left for Kurum, and Kurum is going to exit with a very solid 3rd place in this game.
Yep. And so the pecking order has been established. Kurum had the best Jade board, but the Jade board does lose to both Corki and the Whispers Deja very hard, because Jade is a composition that works on a style of attrition. You try to out-heal and outlast a bunch of the big burst waves, and then you try to use your confrontation method of Shio-Yu and some of that supporting magic damage to finish it off. Just not going to happen. For Robin versus Clear, though, the question really becomes if there's any chance for Robin to find a way to get to Deja. And with Corki, it just feels like you have to play very honestly. I don't think there's a real chance that Robin can do this, but let's find out here, as the first hook does end up pulling Tristana close by. Nothing is challenging the Deja with the Quicksilver. An attempt for a crescendo is not going to even stun it. And now, with the Itis about to drop in a moment's time, Corki is about to get overwhelmed by the remaining dragons. Another Thresh Hook, another Wind Blast. There's just no way Clear is going to end this game right after Carousel unless something miraculous happens to Robin.
Yeah, Clear is our clear winner of game number 4. He's just way too strong, and he hasn't even capped out his board. Still no Diamond Hands, still no Siphon 2, let alone potential other spikes he can go for if he decides he needs to uncap, maybe drop a couple Whisper units and then, play up towards Legendaries, but he just doesn't need to, quite frankly. His board is clearly strong enough to be able to take care of business here. He is going to make this Lulu this time around. Maybe he goes for Lulu 3, because why not? He should be able to get a Nico or a Duplicator out of the Diamond Hands. Meanwhile, we see Robin rolling. He's got 2 Corkis on the bench, 1 Corki on the bench. No real changes to Robin's board, and it feels like no real way. Wow. We're getting off of Itis, actually, and onto a Shyvana 2 here from Clear. He's that much stronger, although I will say that this means that he's going to drop tank aggro in the front line. Maybe Corki gets cheeky access to the Deja somehow because Shyvana jump.
We'll see. Here comes the first Dragon's Descent. The idea is maybe the CC is good enough. I mean, also, he just has so much stats. And the Corki's just taking a lot of damage. That's just going to do it. Pretty straightforward game once you get the Whisper Deja online. It is just too much. And Clear is going to put himself in championship contending as he has improved game after game, result after result.